Hey everybody, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Slimefun. I am your host, Boomer, and we are hooked up with power, baby. We've been talking about spawners. We've been talking about spawners. And one of the things that we needed to make those electric spawners was plutonium. Well, to get plutonium, you've got to go nuclear, and that is what we've done. Last episode, we started putting together all the resources needed to build this little prize jewel here, and I talked about that in a list of just how expensive this thing is, because a lot of resources had to go into making a nuclear power plant. So settle down, guys. We're going to get your favorite beverage going. I've got my coffee. It's a great night. We're going to talk about what we've put together and explain briefly the nuclear system here. So we have a couple of things going into this cargo node. To get in the network, we have our reactor coolant cells, we have uranium going in, and we have neptunium going in. The reason we have neptunium going in to the nuclear reactor is to turn it into plutonium. So to access the nuclear power plant, you can do it one of two ways. You can directly access by right-clicking on it, and you can tell that it has access to the detector port, which is what you need above it. You can also access the reactor port and the nuclear reactor from the reactor port. So this is inside the nuclear reactor, we have a bunch of coolant cells, and we have the ability to store uranium. This is a current uranium ingot that is being burnt right now. So out of 20 minutes, you get 20 minutes of power of 500 joules per second, 20 minutes out of one ingot. So by far, it is the longest lasting, most powerful single item in the game when it comes to power generation, maybe other than a lot of solar. Each one of the reactor coolant cells, however, don't last 20 minutes. You see this percentage timer going down? It drops approximately 10% every 4 seconds. So, and I have to look this up for sure, but I believe, and let's see if we can get to it from here. I don't know if we can or not. How long does it last? Yeah, we can. Okay, so we can see how long each particular source of fuel lasts. I was hoping to find the coolant tank, the coolant radio, the radio and coolant cells, but it's not in here. I'm almost positive that one of them is about 40 seconds. Here's a really easy way to find that out. When that hits 100%, start a timer and see when it shuts off. And just do an count. It's going to be somewhere between, it might only be 30 seconds. I'm just trying to watch it in my head and do the math. I think it's closer to 30 seconds. So you need at least, let's assume one is 30 seconds, you need to have at least 40 of them to cover the time of one uranium ingot. You would need 50 of them to cover a neptunium ingot, and you would need 20 to cover plutonium. Hence, we have all these in here. So this indicates, again, how much time is left on that one bar of uranium. You have two different options. This one is your reactor focused on producing goods. So if it doesn't need power, it just runs and it will use up items. If you click it, it says your reactor focuses on power generation. If it doesn't need it, it will stop producing. That's where I would recommend, just so you don't burn through resources. So like right now, my network is creating enough power with everything running that it doesn't need to do anything. So surprisingly, and I'll tell you why I know it's not using up more power than it's capable of, than I'm producing, but it stopped running. Now, once I fall below that level or it becomes nighttime, I'm sure it's going to kick in. So just real quick, why it doesn't need it, I've upgraded the gold pans and the dust washers to level 2. I need to upgrade the ore generators to level 2 next. Simply because the gold pans and the dust washers, there's 10 gold pans, 5 dust washers. Most of them are empty all the time. So I need to start upgrading the ore grinders to level 2. Now that we have enough uranium to make more than what we need, we've got 344 ingots of uranium stored in here, plus that extra 64. So we're making tons of uranium. That won't be a problem anymore. Blistering ingots are almost a thing of the past. We still need to make the weather assembler, and we still need to set up to automatically kill them. And I think we can do that with weatherproof obsidian, but we're kind of getting lost here. So let's talk about this whole process of setup. We're going to start over here. Whoops. And I'll put a link to the description of this build in the description. This is an IlMango build from actually, I think it's about 4 years ago. It might be a little bit more recent. But it is an automatic bucket filler. And I used this earlier in a series on the other server I played on, but I've modified it tremendously from that build. I've actually removed items that IlMango had in here because he didn't have Slimefun. He didn't have the ability to automatically teleport. So what I've done, I've still set up the redstone the same way. There's a 1 tick delay on that hopper so that it lets the water get sucked out of the dispenser first. After it, the dispenser fires, it pulls the water in the bucket. There's a 1 tick delay to allow that bucket to be pulled out, and then a new one drops in. That way there's only one in there at a time. And I've only got like 3 or 4 buckets in the entire system. So you can see I'm only generating 1 bucket at a time. It used to be, sorry about that guys, it used to be that, on that last system I had 11. And for some reason 1 always disappeared. Well, so far I have not had that problem. I haven't lost any of them. It's been running perfect. I had to connect data down here. So this is an input node. This is a network connecting node, connector node. And then there's an output up there to put the empty buckets into that chest to go to the hopper to the dropper. Real simple. So that produces 3 or 4 buckets nonstop. And every time one of those fills with water, it comes here into this freezer. And you see how fast it's turning buckets of water into ice for us. Oh man, that's some good coffee. So from here, our input node, we do 2 things. We've got it set round robin. The buckets go back to the freezer, or to the automatic water bucket generator. And then the ice goes 2 places. Half of it's going into this storage unit. Right now we have a completely, guys, I set this up 3 hours ago. No bull. At 4 o'clock, it's like 7:14 my time right now. Roughly about 4 o'clock, the nuclear reactor was up and running. This has completely filled up a basic storage unit. So I have 6,464 blocks of ice in there. So now every one of these will be going up to the level 2 freezer. And you can see just how fast it's filling up. From here, it takes ice into a freezer and it turns it into packed ice. So we're doing the same thing. The packed ice, half of it goes to this storage unit. Right now I have 196 packed ice. So instead of taking 9 ice to make 1 packed ice, it takes 1 ice to make 1 packed ice. But you'll notice it wasn't going up. That tells me the majority of it is shooting up to this freezer, which is now creating blue ice. Blue ice is doing the same thing. Half of it's going into here. Now it looks like for some reason it's skipping over the packed and going more into the blue. And it's going into the blue because this is completely full. I can't take any more blue ice in here. So this is what I was going to hope was going to start happening with the smeltery and the ingot storage, is the last item on the chain would fill up and it would filter its way backwards. Now, that's how I think it should be working. Some of the ingot systems that are set up in the smelteries are actually working like the first part of this did with the regular ice. To some extent, it should go that way, and others it should go the other way. It's a little weird. I've also encountered a bug. Problem is I can't duplicate it. Have you ever been walking anywhere near an input or an output node and found items on the floor? I had that problem forever, and I'm like, what is going on? There's no way I dropped all that, right? All of my zinc, I was coming in every morning, and all of my zinc was on the floor. What hadn't despawned was still on the floor, and there was nothing left in a barrel, and I'd have 12,000 items of the magnesium or something else in it. I'm like, I'm not using zinc dust. Why don't I have any zinc dust? Well, I ended up having to replace the barrel 3 times. I changed the network node out twice. I changed out the dust that was in there. And then I had to dump about 1,000 back in here, so I got it up to about 1,700, and then it started to hold, and it hasn't dropped any since that I can tell. At about 3 hours ago, there was like 5,900 in here. So it appears to be holding. I don't know what was causing the bug, and like I said, I have not been able to reproduce it yet. Once I can reproduce it, I'll report it, but in the meantime, I just haven't been able to yet. Oh, and apparently I haven't slept in a while either. Tell you what. We should probably do that. But anyways, getting back to this. So I'm creating automatic ice, packed ice, blue ice, and reactor coolant cells simply by running 4 buckets through a water source. That's it. And because they're way out producing, you know, it all backed up. I've got 3 stacks of cooler cells there. I got 3 stacks of cooler cells there. A couple uranium are going in here. Right now I'm trying to get this set up. I really should sleep. So that when I'm coming in and out of here, I get the uranium going through, and I also get the neptunium going through to start giving me plutonium, because we need that plutonium. So I think what I'm going to do after I sleep is I'm going to take, actually, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I'm going to take the uranium out of there to make sure that I get plutonium, because it'll force neptunium out. That will come over here. When that shuts off from power, I actually have one I can put up there now on the item frame. So it'll go half and half, and then eventually I'll have plutonium up there. I really should just take care of those things, shouldn't I? So that's what we're going to force. We're going to force the neptunium to come out, come back in, and turn into plutonium, because we need spawners. We need to get those electric spawners up and running so we can automate coal production. I've got like 6 over there, five over there right now that we can pull out, reinforce them, and turn them into electric spawners. And I've been debating about how to set that farm up, whether I stack them vertically and let them drop, or if I space them out, because it still is subject to the mob cap. So they're all going to spawn on top. Hopefully what I'm thinking that they're going to do is all split, but if I have to, I'll simply just separate them, and, you know, in 3 or 4 blocks apart, just enough so that they don't interfere and spawn on top of each other. But this is kind of where this is at right now. So we're getting closer to being able to make those electric spawners. I'm hoping next episode to be able to do so. So I guess I didn't have a whole lot planned for this one. I simply wanted to talk about the nuclear to make sure we've got everything covered on here. And I do want to also, real quick, I do want to touch base on the last video when it came to the liquid in the new Slimefun items here. You know what? Forgive me, guys. We're just going to stop them for a moment just because I want you to be able to see this. So going back to the liquid, one of the reasons why I didn't give it a high rating compared to this, especially with the Slimefun guide and the wiki, I went back and I reread the wiki. It's 1 sentence, and it leads you to believe that there's more than just storing it in a bucket. It's not worded good. But the thing that really bothered me, especially about the slag, was that there was no recipe showing how to obtain it or to craft it. I still haven't found a recipe to use it in crafting. Maybe, and there was somebody else who commented, and thank you, by the way, for doing that there was a way to get slag through, I think it was the, which one was it here? The centrifuge, where it comes out of one of the items as a byproduct. But I still, and looking through every one of these recipes so far, I haven't found anything to use it for. So I'm not really sure, and maybe somebody does know that can say what it's used for. So far, I can't find anything in a guide. You know, when you search up slag, this is the only 2 things you get. It is just part of the liquids. It doesn't show up anywhere else, and I haven't found it as part of any crafting recipe or byproduct anywhere. So by some chance, if this were to get back to the dev, my comment to you would be, we need a little bit better setup for the guide, because it appears to be a completely useless item. I don't understand what the point of it is. It doesn't seem that there's any ingot for it. I don't know if it can be used as charcoal. I mean, it has the appearance of charcoal, so I don't know if it's a charcoal item that you can turn into it. I don't know what its purpose is, and I can't find anything on it. So I guess, you know, for the next revision, whatever you update, I would be much clearer in the guide about its use, because I can pull up any of the items in a Slimefun guide. For example, if I go into the basic items, where are we here? Basic machines. And I pull up composter, right? I can see everything I can put into it and everything I can take out of it. You don't have that completely with liquid. So if I click on the solidifier, right, I get that here. but there's nothing about slag, except molten slag turns into slag. I still don't know what to use it for. There appears to be no recipes of any kind other than moving one item from a solid to a liquid, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Same thing here. It's not in here. It's not in a centrifuge, right? It just says, hey, molten emerald ore in buckets gives me 3 molten emerald. You know, I don't see anything that would help me to understand why slag is in a game. So if somebody's got some insight into why slag is in here, I'd love to hear it. And again, at the dev, we need to be more thorough in a guide so people can understand what was the intent of you putting it in here. There's no recipe for it. It doesn't say what it is, what it does. Putting in another recipe, what will it accomplish? I get it. You might want people to discover, but there has to be something, because I don't know how to obtain it even. I don't know which items I have to break down to even get it. I can't obtain liquid slag, and I can't obtain slag in its form. So something has to be broken down, and I don't know what it is, and it's not covered in any of your notes in the game. So just thought processes, you know, like I said, if you want to include it in a game, there's got to be a purpose for it, and there's apparently no identifiable purpose that I've been able to locate, at least to this point. So anyways, with that, we are going to wrap up. Next episode, we're going to be focused on electric spawners and how we're going to set this up, how we're going to collect it, where it's going to go to maximize its efficiency, make sure it stays in a spawn chunk so it's always running, because when you know, you need a lot of coal. You need boomer amounts of coal, baby. That's what we're talking about. And with that, when you play Minecraft, thanks for watching, by the way, but when you're playing Minecraft, you've got to go boomer or you've got to go home. We'll see you later.